Our conversation to the Building Bridges initiative, and Gladys Boss has a story for us. Take us through.
Okay. MPs allied to Deputy President William Ruto have accused the ODM leader Raila Odinga of using the BBI fashion to fashion his 2022 presidential bid. Speaking in a burial ceremony in Murang'a, attended by the ODM leader, the lawmakers challenged Odinga to come clean on the BBI process. Stephen Leto reports.
Ni mzuri kwa kila kitu yenye aliamua. Hata kuamua kufanya kazi na William Ruto ni uzuri yake ndio hiyo. Wewe heshimu pamoja na hiyo. Usiseme ugawe hii, ugawe huyu, na tuache siasa. Hii sio imejaletwa ili ati ile Raila awe rais au Uhuru awe waziri mkuu. Hapana. This is for posterity, for the people of Kenya. Let us have a democratic conversation. Murkomen, tutakuja Eldoret. Na nyinyi mtapata nafasi vile vile kule kuongea mambo yenu. Sema ni yote. Sema ni yote. Hakuna mtu anazuia kusema. Hii ni tunataka iwe Kenya mpya.
And we need some speed governance in this process. And we need some good order in this process. So just consider. Ndio hii BBI isisemekane ni ya kukalanga huyu ama ya kusaidia huyu. Let us have a summit, no matter what system. And we are not saying don't expand the executive. Lakini hao wananchi sio wapungufu wa akili, wanaweza kujichagulia rais. So hii maneno ya kutaka ati sijui parliamentary system tuende huko bunge.
So I don't know where to begin. Let me begin here because it was happening in your county. So there's still simmering opposition to the initiative.
I haven't spoken for a while. Eh?
Oh.
Me too. No, yeah. It is. I just spoke once, so you.
Okay. Okay, I'll give you equal chance. Let me just begin from Murang'a for specific reasons. So we're seeing this opposition coming even now. We've seen very heated conversations in Narok, very heated conversations in Garissa because the Garissa people are asking for education equality. Narok asking for land rights as well as issues to do with political exclusivity. What are the concerns for the people of Murang'a, and how do we fashion all this to ensure that at the end of the day we have an initiative that is representative of the national views towards national prosperity?
You see, what was happening in Murang'a yesterday was a burial, and therefore it was not a BBI initiative meeting. But I think from the speakers, including the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, you can see there is pressure for a national conversation that actually speaks to the interests of the people, other than the narrow interest of some people. Because what has been coming out in all the, at least what is mainly given, maybe the highlight stories, is that we want to create some positions. And that one of those positions is the office of the Prime Minister with executive powers. Therefore, transferring the executive powers from the President to the Prime Minister. There is, of course, also a conversation that is dangerous also of creation of a third tier of government. When you then look at what happened in Narok, then the question of the land issue, the land rights, historical injustice is also coming strongly from Narok. Issue of conflict and possible flaring of emotions, attached to land issues. And of course, you have seen yesterday, I think there was somebody who was beaten up, lost his vehicle, or his fence was demolished. Somebody has been arrested. Mheshimiwa Ngeno has been arrested. You listened to the dema. The accusation, he kind of was very clear that some certain communities have been profiled or will be profiled going forward within the BBI conversations, which is supposed to be speaking to inclusivity and unity of the people. Then you are saying you cannot also vie in Narok or areas that Ma community occupy, notwithstanding the interests of other communities within the same region. Very dangerous. I think we are losing it. Okay. And that's why Moses is calling on the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who was present during the burial with Uhuru Kenyatta, to actually, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, to actually maybe reflect back and see whether they have lost the initial thoughts. And because the Right Honorable has presided over all this BBI, then what is it? Is it his baby? Is it his thing other than Kenyans' issue? That's not how you make a constitution. That's not how you lead the country to a referendum, because this is now appearing to be owned by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Where is the rest? Where is Uhuru Kenyatta?
All right, I just want to read an update that you referred to. A Murwa Dikir member of Parliament, Johanna Ngeno,
was arrested yesterday.
But he was released later in the evening from the Ololunga police station, and we are told that he has vowed that he will not continue with Building Bridges Initiative sensitization for the people of Narok County. So he appears to have stepped back from the front. But also, so when you look at this Honorable Wanga, when you look at what she's saying, and that feeling that it's as if there's ethnic profiling, there's a situation of exclusivity. You are in Narok, and you saw that, you had that. How is the country supposed to move forward with the agenda of building bridges with such kind of undertones from the political class?
Yeah, so let me just say, and let me repeat the quote that Raila Odinga made, and it's by, Evelyn Bridges Hall. I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend unto death your right to say it. And let me just say that I'm happy that BBI has now been given the focus of issues. Because as Honorable Alice was saying, even as we spoke about issues from Kisii, when we went to Kisii, Nyanza people spoke about their issues. The blue economy, the blue economy, they spoke about, all the issues that affect them, the fishing, yes. and the Kuria people came and said, we want our own county because we are a minority here and we do not feel well represented. When we went to Kakamega, they spoke about the sugar issues and how that is affecting, their area. When we went to the coast people spoke about the land issues and how that is affecting them. And when we went to Kambani, they brought out their issues. And people are supposed to speak. This conversation around BBI is supposed to say what truly ails us. And there are some sensitive issues. And I must say that when tackling sensitive issues, we cannot afford to be reckless around it. That has to be clear to us leaders. We can say what our issues are without appearing to light up flames or whatever it is with other communities with whom we live. But the Ma people spoke about what their issues were. And you may not agree maybe with some of the things they raised and so on, but this is where we are supposed to be as a country. Speak. Let us speak about what ails us. Then let us find solutions to these problems.
Honorable Wanga, you said that BBI is supposed to be addressing sensitive issues, but if you look at all the BBI forums that have been there's always something in every county that was a bit, dramatic in itself. So how will you continue convincing Kenyans that, listen, BBI is what this country needs when it's still a divisive factor?
I do not think it is divisive. I think BBI,
how do you describe the Narok if it's not divisive?
No, Narok, the Ma communities came together and they presented a memorandum of the things they feel are affecting them. The land issues, the historical injustices, they feel, their space is being eaten into, and that is what they said. It's like coming and saying, Zinzi, where is the shoe pinching you? Then you'll tell me, oh, Sam is taking too much space, here, he's not sitting on his side, he's, moving this side, and maybe that may not sit well with all of us, but it's what's pinching you. So it's for the BBI now, as we, talk in this national conversation, to find what the solutions are. And I think what we must advise, what we must advise ourselves as leaders is, when we address the sensitive issues, let us have the wisdom in ourselves to see how to address them in a way that does not create further friction, but that creates harmony and finds a way of our rights being met, but not infringing on also other people's rights. So I think that is where we should, that is where the conversation should be.
Ladies, allow me to just bring out one specific point that came out yesterday, on Saturday, Narok. Honorable Anne Waiguru talked about how there should be a woman in one of those top 5 executive seats. We began this show, really, talking about strategy. Amongst yourselves as individuals and also women in politics, is there a strategy that is being discussed to make sure that there's a woman seated on one of those top 5 executive seats?
You know,
let me just...
Okay, let's go like this. Honorable Wanga.
Let me speak to the women's issue and then I'll just...
I'll come around like this. I also want to get her point on...
No, but you've just finished the 2 of them.
Okay,
I haven't spoken at all. Let's start this
way.
Yes, I have to weigh in on this one because it's very important. I think we should... Raila Odinga said it's not about positions. He's lying. It is about positions. Because from the time BBI started, it was about Prime Minister, including all communities. If you look...
Let me just correct that before it goes too far. Let me just correct that.
Pull out the quotation. You'll have a chance to say it.
Just allow her to finish.
I want you to pull out the quotation of Anne Waiguru speaking in Kirinyaga. When she was saying that Central Kenya is ready for Raila Odinga. Basically, she was saying you cannot wish away Raila, so we have to give him a position. If you look at what was spoken in Western and also what was spoken in Mombasa, they were talking about positions. In fact, it took a group of like-minded MPs, over 200, and I am part of that group, to go to Naivasha to say, if BBI is not talking about the border people, the unemployment of our youth, the plight of our farmers, the poor performing economy, the corruption, the challenges that the ordinary citizen, the Mama Mboga is facing, then we don't want to hear about BBI. We said we will support BBI insofar as it's going to change the lives of our people. So we are the ones who actually began to talk about that BBI should stop talking about positions, because positions was talking about inclusivity.
That is misleading.
And when that happened, you can play the statement of the Naivasha MPs.
But that is misleading.
And then, and I want to complete. So once that happened...
Let's get that clarity so that there's...
That is misleading.
I said, if you listen, I want you to pull up the clips of Western Kenya, Kisii, and Mombasa, and you will realize that they were talking about positions. I even remember the quote, even that quotation of saying that we want those positions and there has to be a woman. It means there is, and I remember Anne Waiguru said there is going to be 9 positions. I want you to pull up that quote. Therefore, it is true indeed that BBI was beginning to talk about people and about positions. Their idea of inclusivity was about people. Then I want you to pull out the statement of the 200 MPs in Naivasha, who I was part of it. That is when we said it has to be about the ordinary citizen.
Okay, I hear
but
you, but my
luckily, I remember saying that by Mombasa, the position... Yes, you will have a chance to correct it.
But if it goes for too long,
when we went to Mombasa, can I just finish, then she can respond? In Mombasa now, that was the first time, and I commended on Governor Kingi. Governor Kingi began to talk about land. He began to talk about historical injustices when land was grabbed from the local communities there, which is well documented in the Ndugu report. They referred to the TJRC report that also talked about the injustices on various communities. It began to, and now the conversation has now begun to shape where there is 2 positions. There are those who talk about positions, and there are those who talk about being able to deal with the people. But I can see there is an improvement, because at least in each area, including in Narok, there was a memorandum by the Ma community. But also, you can see that some of the statements by the politicians was almost thinking that inclusivity means removing people who are not of the Ma community out of Narok. Then that completely smacks in the face of the method of inclusivity. I wanted them to talk, when they talk about Kisumu, Lake Victoria is dying. I want to hear them talk about Lake Victoria. The fact that there is lack of fish, but not about positions.
I'll give an opportunity to continue with that. But first, what is so inconsistent that you're hearing from Honorable
Let me say one thing, 2 things. One, when she said that when Raila said this is not about positions, Raila is lying. And let me just make this clear. What Raila Odinga said is, this BBI is not about me getting a position. Neither is it about Uhuru Kenyatta getting a position. Let us have a national conversation about how best to move our country forward so that we are not always in conflict. Then let me correct the second position, that it is because of the MPs, first of all, there were not 200, but it is because of the MPs in Naivasha that BBI shifted to issues. First of all, there is a whole chapter on shared prosperity. Or in the BBI report, in the first place, this spoke about what are the issues that are affecting Kenyans. If you look at the memorandum that was read in Kisii by the people of Nyanza, There are serious issues affecting the people of Nyanza discussed in that memorandum, not positions. Positions, and let me also say, positions must also be discussed in the sense that we must talk about what structure of governance suits our people, so that our people do not feel excluded. And the structure of governance has been discussed in each and every place. So we cannot talk about BBI exclusively. There is a 9-point agenda. Those 9 points discuss all the issues that concern us. So I want to remove this misleading statement that it is because of MPs in Naivasha that BBI began speaking about shared prosperity issues. Shared prosperity issues have been a part and parcel of this BBI process. It does not take MPs to come and tell people about what to say.
Honorable Alice Wahome, 1 minute. I'm hoping, because none of the ladies that have spoken, neither Boss or Wanga have answered the question. What is it that you're telling women are the majority in terms, we are more than men in terms of population?
I was just responding to what was said, but I will speak to the women's issues when I have my chance.
At individual levels, at your own individual levels, and as women, what are you doing to make sure strategically that a woman will get a seat, whether it's a 9-seat or a 5-seat executive?
Actually, it's a very hard question for me to answer, because I don't see this BBI being the solution or answer to all these important issues, including gender equality. You know, this is a sham process, and this is not how a country is led into a major exercise of constitutional review. And I sit here as a lawyer and I see the fraud being committed on Kenyans. You know, we are campaigning for what, if you are asked? There shouldn't be a campaign before town hall, small caucuses, meetings with a document that has been released by a body that is mandated to deal with this. You see, the politicians in there are not discussing about gender equality. Anne Waiguru may be discussing with Akina Gladys, might be discussing about their own positions. And that's why you see the one single issue that Anne Waiguru has carried is for a deputy chair, a deputy prime minister to be a woman. Why would she then, in a situation where their teams are proposing
and she has not spoken to women,
a president and also a prime minister, why would she not then propose, if we're speaking about genuine, true gender equality, that the prime minister or the president should be a woman?
I have to
therefore, I think in my response to all this is that let us not lie to Kenyans that we are actually dealing with answering the real issues of Kenyans.
Allow me to play a clip so that we can continue the conversation. That is the sound of Raphael Wanjala, who spoke about gender issues at the Narok rally, but he was heckled because of what he was saying. Let's listen to him.
Mambo ya gender issues is never legislated in a democratic society. Huwezi nasimisha mwanaume akitaka kuwa governor eti lazima akuwe bibi ndio akuwe nyumba yake. Hii ni legislation, ni democracy. Kila mtu anaenda kupigia kura ule mtu anataka. Sio lazima eti utafute mwanamke. You are not entering into a marriage. You are not entering into a marriage. Thank you very much. Kuna kitu kama hiyo.
All right. So
if you know Wanjara, let me just conclude on that.
I haven't even had a chance
to make Wanjara, if you know, I won't take time, but if you know Wanjara, actually Wanjara's record and history, including in Parliament, has made more outrageous statements than this particular one. You go into his record, he has made the most outrageous, and I obviously don't agree with him.
Honorable Wanga, when you see that clip from a male politician, what are your thoughts? And what does that say about the position of women at the political level, when you have a male politician like that?
So Zinzi, I'll respond to that specific question, but I have to keep correcting my sisters here because,
I
don't blame them.
Just address yourself.
I don't blame them because I have attended all the BBI fora, and the reason I have to keep saying this, the truth as it is because I have been there. For example, the town hall discussions that are being referred to. Every time before the main BBI event, the community stakeholders sit and an expert from the BBI team comes and takes the stakeholders through the report one by one. That is one day before the rally. So the day before the rally, these processes happen. So I just want to make it clear that the town halls that we're speaking about, the stakeholders' engagement, they happen the day before the rally. And they are taken through issue by issue. And it is through those meetings that communities come up or counties come up with their memorandum. You have an expert from the BBI team that is seconded there. And then you have the community and its stakeholders going through those processes and coming up with their memorandum. And let me
come. Is there a different set of experts apart from the members? No, I wanted to clarify for me.
So let me just say this. For example, in Narok, in Narok, you had 2 members of the BBI task force.
Oh, the task force, not other people.
No. Okay. 2 members of the BBI task force sitting there with the community as they came up with their issues.
So when you hear Wanjala speak like that,
so let me come to because a lot of untruths have been advanced. The issues that we propagate as women within the BBI rallies, because we must take our space. When we had the BBI, first of all, the team taking up views, we went before the BBI team and gave our views as the women of Kenya, what we think should be incorporated.
Not as ODM, not as leader, not as women leaders from ODM, NANSA, as Jubilee, all of you.
As women leaders.
Embrace.
Okay. As embrace, and that was women leaders from across the political divide, you know? And Embrace had women leaders, by the way, from Jubilee, from NASA, from civil society, teachers, governors that we have, everybody really
what did you recommend as women?
And what we said, some of the things that we said is, one, we do not want to lose any of the gains that the women have made within the 2010 Constitution. The other thing that we said, we proposed, is the opposite gender rule, which would allow for women to go into positions. And that is how you saw the report came out. And I really am, it is very unfortunate that Alice and senior women leaders did not go to the BBI to present views, you know, because when the report finally came out, it said, we want to have the opposite gender rule. And this is what we have been advancing with these rallies. And you have seen Wanjala. If we do not, as women, come together and put our foot down, we will be brought down by men such as Wanjala, thinking that women should compete. You know, he even rubbished and said we are not getting into a marriage. So when you say that the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice must be of opposite gender, they're not getting into a marriage. We know that they are not getting into a marriage. And even when we say we want the opposite gender rule at the top, and governor level, and all the way down, and it cannot be.
I don't think it's written in law that the Deputy Chief Justice.
It is in law. And even when you go to the Parliamentary Service Commission, the only reason we have a woman as the Vice Chair of the Parliamentary Service Commission is because of the law.
So if you
on Chapter 15 commissions.
If you as women are divided, how is it that there will be a one strong voice of women to handle the patriarchy?
We are not divided. I think when you talk about these issues, Alice will agree with me, and even Gladys Post will agree that these are the issues that we want to advance, and that we will come together to tackle people such as Wanjala making those outrageous statements that they are making. So on the gender front, we have a common voice, and accusing Anne Waiguru, and I really do not want that to go unchallenged. Accusing Anne Waiguru of probably looking for a position, advancing a cause that is for herself, I think is unfair. Because when she speaks about, for example, the opposite gender rule at the governor level, for example. She's already a woman governor. So it is not about her. We must look at it beyond just individuals.
All right, Honorable Wanga, we want us to take a break so that we come back with the views from Uasin Gishu leaders who spoke yesterday, distancing themselves from the BBI. You can still text in your views, 22422, or tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya, Asam Gituku at Zinzi_K. So the feedback is after the break or not?
All right, let's take a look at
it. Governor 254, the Public Procurement Oversight Authority should be required to widely publish its periodical price reference list for goods and services to avoid overpricing and procurement of goods in state offices. We continue to say that Kenya needs to focus its anti-corruption fight on long-term, high-return institution building activities coupled with the justice, infrastructure, and political will to hold those who transgress accountable.
All right, still on Twitter. So Nash, you say Sonkrita is in a way admitting that they are guilty by saying walikuwa wengi.
That's your view on that conversation. Engineer Lazaro, you want to take us through that?
Sure. You say, good morning, Lazaro. You say, Honorable Wahome, Uhuru Ruto are mature men surrounded by top advisors, both within and abroad. They know where the rain started to beat them. Blaming BBI, handshake and Raila is a misplaced priority.
Someone else, on Month of Victory, you say that BBI isn't about creating positions, but rather diffusing of power so that more than two communities make key decisions on appointments and allocation of resources. The current governance system isn't viable. Little wonder Jubilee government is falling. That is a Month of Victory.
Brian, you say, how is BBI going to change the life of Wanjiku in my village? We have a constitution that they don't dare to implement or care to implement. How different will the new one be? How has devolution changed this country? And how better will regional governments be? Very good questions there. What's going to be different about this one?
Rodney, you say that it's so boring to be talking about gender equality when the population of women surpasses that of men.
It's not
the
boring.
women should address the problems undermining their unity and not blaming men for their poor democratic success. I believe the nature of our society would force the situation that we have in the country, but all the same, we'll have some responses as well as the voice of Uasin Gishu after the break.